All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about Microsoft Project. Now, this is a piece of software that's been an absolute giant in its field for decades. It's the tool that takes those chaotic, big ideas and turns them into a structured, manageable reality. And we're going to break down exactly how it pulls that off.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Let's say you're building a new skyscraper, or maybe launching a new app, or even just planning a huge marketing campaign. You're juggling tasks, deadlines, people, budgets. It's a lot. That right there, that's the core problem a tool like Microsoft Project was born to solve.
So let's start with the absolute basics. What in the world is Microsoft Project anyway? We're going to break down what it does at its core that's made it such an enduring staple in the industry for so long.
At its heart, this is it. Think of it as the digital command center for any complex job. And listen, it's not just some fancy to-do list. It's a dynamic, living model of your entire project, from the very beginning all the way to the finish line.
You can pretty much boil its entire purpose down to these three simple but super powerful actions. First, you plan the work. Then, you figure out the people and the materials you need to actually do that work. And finally, you keep a close eye on how it's all going. Simple in concept, right? But incredibly powerful in practice.
Okay, so now for the how. How do you actually build one of these project plans? Let's walk through the high-level process, because once you get this, the whole system just kind of clicks and makes perfect sense.
And honestly, this is the best analogy there is. You wouldn't even dream of building a house without a detailed blueprint, would you? Of course not. Well, Microsoft Project lets you create that same insane level of detail for any kind of project, making sure every single piece fits together perfectly. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because it's just like building that house. First, you define your working times. That's basically you pouring the foundation. Then, you add all your tasks and how long they'll take. Those are your walls and your rooms taking shape. Third, you build the structure with something called a work breakdown structure, or WBS. It sounds complicated, but it just means grouping things logically, like putting all the plumbing tasks under one heading. That's like organizing your rooms onto different floors. And finally, you link the dependencies. You're adding the hallways and the stairs, making sure you can't put the roof on before the walls are up.
But look, a blueprint is just paper without a construction crew and the materials, right? So let's see how MS Project handles the absolutely critical job of managing the resources, the people, and the stuff that actually bring a plan to life.
The software basically thinks in these three distinct buckets. You've got work resources, those are your people and your machines, the ones doing the action. Then you have material resources, that's the stuff they use up, like cement on a job site or even just printer paper in an office. And finally, cost resources, which are purely financial things, like a budget for airfare or hotels. Pretty much every single input for your project is going to fall into one of these categories.
And this quote shows exactly why categorizing those resources matters so much. See, resource leveling is just a fancy way of saying the software makes sure you don't assign one developer 80 hours of coding in a single 40-hour week. I mean, that's just a recipe for burnout. The software automatically spots these over-allocations and can even suggest new schedules to fix them. It's the difference between a team that's thriving and a project that's grinding to a halt.
Okay, we get it. It's a powerful tool. But we're living in an age of countless slick, new, shiny apps. So why is a veteran like Microsoft Project still such a dominant force? This is the why. The key thing to realize is that this is not the same software from 10 or 20 years ago. Not even close. The modern version uses AI to do way more than just list tasks. It actually analyzes your plan to predict potential problems. Like, it can spot that a tiny delay in a design task today will cause a massive manufacturing headache 3 months from now, and then it suggests solutions. It's gone from being a simple scheduler to a proactive, strategic advisor. You know, this might be its biggest superpower today. It doesn't live on an island by itself. So, for example, when a team member marks a risky task as falling behind, it doesn't just update a little percentage bar. It can automatically fire off an alert in your project's Microsoft Teams channel, assign a follow-up task in Planner, and attach the relevant file from SharePoint. That one click just replaced 3 different emails in a status meeting. We're talking about saving hours of manual work.
And in our world of remote and hybrid work, this is just non-negotiable. The project plan is no longer some static file that a manager updates once a week. No way. It's a living, breathing document. An engineer in Berlin can update her task, and a manager in Seattle sees that change instantly. This allows the team to make course corrections in minutes, not days. That single source of truth just wipes out confusion and puts decision-making into hyperdrive.
But the story doesn't stop here, not even close. MS Project is constantly evolving, and it's leaning heavily into the tech that's shaping our future. So let's take a quick peek at where this is all going.
The future is all about making the software smarter and, frankly, easier to use. Predictive analytics won't just flag a risk, it'll start to suggest why it's a risk by learning from all your company's past projects. Data-driven insights will help you make better, more realistic time estimates right from the start. And maybe most importantly, enhancing the user experience is all about lowering that steep learning curve, making these powerful tools more intuitive for the whole team, not just the certified project managers.
And this brings us to a final, really big thought. As tools like Microsoft Project get better and better at automatically creating the perfect plan and flagging risks before they happen, the project manager's job fundamentally changes. It shifts away from all that manual scheduling and number crunching and moves towards things like strategic decision-making, communication, and real leadership. So what do you think? In a world of automated plans, what becomes the most vital contribution a human can make?